Hey y'all, it's Morning Label Nina. Um, Morning Label discussions. Sorry, I'm a little stuffy and everything. But so I've been wanting to do a video on the Washington WSU warrants because I did one on Pennsylvania and I thought it would be fair because I've always said that no matter my narrative, no matter my opinions, that I would go with the research. And the research I've done, I see problems with the the WSU search warrant. I really do. I mean, and that's just being totally honest, being transparent, being accountable, doing research. I see problems with it. And I mean, how do you go from a 49-page search warrant, 122922A, to a 166-page search warrant, 122922B? Why you got an A and a B? I got a problem with that. So I keep reading, and they, of course, the judge comes in and wants to take names and stuff like that out for protection of, the survivors and, respect for the victims. So I thought, okay, so you get a B from rewriting the whole thing. I can go with that. 49 and 49 is what? 98? You end up with 166 pages. So I dug deeper. And in that search warrant, you have the communications between his lawyer coming to the apartment and picking things up in that report. And then you have the communication with the judge when they found the lock for the storage building. And then you have your ban letter, kicking him off the property. Hell, he's sitting in jail. Why you got to ban him? I mean, I didn't understand that either, but I guess cover your butt. But even with all that, 98 to 166 is a lot of pages. So you keep reading, you keep researching, you keep looking, and the more you read, the more that you're like, wait a minute, things are not really adding up here. Because when you go through the Pennsylvania search warrants, it's just step by step what they found, what they did, what they surveilled, what they saw. They even put in there that there was broken doors, broken windows, that there was force, that it was, no knock. I mean, even the ugly stuff, they put it in there, But they did not insert something that could bias somebody, I guess I'm trying to say. And look, y'all know this is just my opinion. This is just how I read things, how I research things. But I've always been straightforward, transparent, and accountable for my research. So if somebody else has researched it and sees something different, please let me know. But y'all remember that little Brady Giglio announcement? I really think Don Daniels is the Brady. I really do. Because if you go and you read the search warrant and everything, she had no right to put in a search warrant from Idaho about them doing the trash and matching the DNA. And I'm not a lawyer. I could be wrong. but I think she overstepped some boundaries and put it in there and then was like, but I really don't want you to pay attention to it. I didn't, just forget I said anything. Really? How you okay, now right before that, she just sit here and said they took the man's father's trash and it matched his DNA to the sheets, la 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 octillion times. Okay, forget that though. That is not in my mind. I don't know about it. Nobody said anything. So I'm not going to be biased. I'm not going to let that affect my decision to approve this warrant. You know, judges say it every day in court. Strike that. Struck that. You didn't hear that. You know, I don't know the legal terms, but disregard. You can't unhear something. You can't unsee something. So I'm a little confused. So the warrant gets approved. Okay, fine, whatever. So they go and they get their stuff and all this. Now keep in mind that WSU is also met at the apartment by ISP Forensics, ISP. If I'm not mistaken, some of Moscow was there. So there were people qualified for chain of custody that were direct ties to the Idaho case. Why did she put everything in locker 35 at WSU? That's the question I need answered. I need that answered more than the disregard statement. If you want them to disregard it, why put it in there? Because you were trying to stack the deck. So, but then you're just gonna put the evidence in locker 35 at WSU and just keep it 7 to 10 days. No big deal. It's locked up. The things that make you say, And I'm not saying anything happened. I'm not saying she did anything wrong. But if you're not cheating, don't make it look like you're cheating. If you're not stacking the deck, don't make it look like you're stacking the deck. If you're not trying to do something backdoored, backhanded, because he came from your university and you're mad because he may have made you look bad, he can't make you look any worse than you already make yourself look. I mean, come on, we're talking Dawn Daniels. And I ain't afraid to say it. She to the public, she may be a saint. To the public, she may be the best thing since sliced bread. But when you climb the ladder off of others failing, so while they're falling down the ladder, you're climbing on top of them to get up the ladder. No, not a good person that makes. Not in my eyes. Some little instances. So I don't know if everybody knows about it, but I think there was like 3 officers in 2020, I think, or something like that they decided they were going to go ahead and retire and everything because their butts was getting fired for sexual abuse. Okay, not sexual abuse. We'll say sexual misconduct. We'll say that. She knew about it. She waited. She didn't tell. She didn't do anything about it, but she took advantage of it when it did happen. So then you have officers that with WSU, they get like a personal Home Depot, Lowe's, big box store credit card. And they pay the bill. Now, this credit card is to be used for things they need, okay, for their job. But they paid the bill, so I guess they started thinking it was their credit card. Now, keep in mind that Don Daniels is the one that puts out the purchase orders. Don Daniels is the one that handles all the billing and the, hey, you might, whatever. So she's not blind to what's going on. I'm not saying she took advantage of it. And I know everybody's saying, well, what kind of big deal is that? They paid the bill every month. Well, it is a big deal. Those credit card companies and those big box stores give universities and places like that so many incentives to get them to use their cards. Number one, there's no interest. Think of that kind of money saved. I mean, number two, what about integrity? What about it's just not right? And look, I'm an ex-meth head. I ain't saying I've always done everything right, because I haven't. So I'm not judging the, oh, what if it's not right thing. But if you're going to be in that kind of position and you're going to hold that you're at the utmost law abiding citizen because you are in law enforcement, you might want to look a little harder at what's right and what's wrong, because there's higher standards for you than there is for a meth head. That's just the way it is. I've been in recovery for 12 years, so I'm good. But so they all get fired. No. I'm wrong. I correct myself. The only one that got fired was a black guy. Well, he was smart enough to go sue him and for discrimination and everything. But again, they're going down the ladder while she's going up the ladder. So she told it and she used it to her advantage. Okay. That could be possibly the Giglio too, because I know one of them is for exculpatory and one of them is for just downright nasty behavior that's not becoming an officer, which could be sexual misconduct, thievery, lying, falsifying stuff. I mean, hell, it could be anything. So my dog is whining, so I'm going to stop this and I will be back in a minute. Okay. Sorry about that. My dog had to go outside. So there's a whole lot that I want to do about, and I want to talk about as far as Don Daniels, okay? But going through the Don Daniels research and everything, I had something put on my heart. God knows, anybody that knows me knows that if I get something in my head or I get something on my heart, I'm not going to let it go until I say something, I do something, I act some kind of crazy or something. So I'm going to choose to just say what I need to say, because I don't think that it's understood. I don't think that it's discussed enough. I don't think it's recognized enough. And I'm not the savior. I'm not the police. I'm not the YouTube, whatever, whatever. Okay. I am a measly creator that I don't know what I think I can do or what I think I can help do or anything like that. But there's some things that hit my heart, that hit my brain, that hits my gut. And talking about Don Daniels brought up one of those things. And I guess the reason why is because they had an article during my research and they were talking about how Fent and stuff like that's like taking over the colleges and taking over the universities and, all the overdoses and all this, and she does an interview talking about that she's used Narcan one time. That it's not a problem there. Now look, I understand PR. I understand making sure that there's, things that are said, things that are not said, can't make the university look bad or nothing like that. But be honest with y'all, lost my son to drugs. I am an addict in remission because recovering is the wrong word. Recovering is you're getting well from it. I will never be well from addiction. So it's like cancer. It's like in remission. So I am an addict in remission. It could come back with one bad decision. So if we are losing a beautiful soul every 11 minutes from Fent, from drugs, how is WSU so protected from it? Because if that's the case, we all need to go there and find out what they're doing, and we can get rid of all this in the rest of the world, the United States, and save some people. Hell, let's do it. Don Daniels can lead the charge. There's a difference in misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation is Sally told me that Joe was bald underneath his toupee, and I went and I repeated it like it was fact, and it was wrong. That's misinformation. Disinformation is exactly what she's doing. She's lying. Lying. For what? Not to protect anybody. She's lying to protect herself. Because she can't get all these awards from the sororities and the fraternities if they're dying from drug overdose and it's being public. How's she going to keep getting her accolades and her attagirls? How's she going to keep doing that? No, so she's lying to keep her job, to get her little chief stripes. And I hope she's listening. I'll tell her to her face. Come on, panel, we'll talk about it. Because you are messing with people's lives when you sit there and you deny a pandemic that takes a life every 11 minutes. Sorry, it is what it is. If you know, you know. And I mean, hell, how you going to sit there and go with all these narratives of drugs doing it and everything when the drugs have boundaries? The drugs know not to go over to Washington. So, I don't know how they know where that state line is, but the drugs know. Nope, that's off limits. They don't have a drug problem over there. It's only over here in Idaho. Okay, we'll go with that. Yeah, just like we'll go with the parents being the cause of the deaths, and just like we'll go with oh, wait a minute, what was that? The video of somebody put up of the guy carrying Ethan on his back. We'll go with that. Come to find out, it was a movie that somebody had put up. It was a shot out of a movie. Wow. I wonder, have you ever wondered how that affects a parent, that could have been their child and they saw that? I just thought about that. That's just, wow. Now, see, something else done got in my craw. And what's really shocking about it, though, is Tommy Jude is the one that put it up there. And I don't understand how he can be so callous about it, because I sit in his chat one night crying and everything because he's lost his son. And you sit there and you get all confused with all these messages and everything, because I've lost my son. I buried my son. There ain't no way I could put something like that up, knowing that a parent could see that. So all the mixed signals and the false narratives and the clicks and the views and the clickbaits and the this, and I'm getting off subject totally. It's disappointing. It's really disappointing. But I digress. Back to my message that I want to tell. We all know who Emma Bailey and Demetrius Robertson is. Okay? I mean, they're in that spaghetti noodle that's thrown up against the wall and everybody's trying to get something to stick, so everybody can be guilty. I mean, hell, at this point, we don't need a defendant chair. We need defendant bleachers. I mean, anyway, I digress again. So we know that they got arrested. And everybody knows that they got arrested because a beautiful young man was going to party, and his DOC drug of choice was going to be cocaine, and it was laced with fent. And I know everybody says you do the drugs, you're taking a chance, whatever. But these kids are in college. These kids are experimenting. They're doing party drugs. And I am not at all saying the drugs are the reason for anything, any kind of murders. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is these are college kids that are at their peak of life with their freedoms. I'm sure that nobody thought he could snort a line and end up dead. Facts are facts. So anyway, March the 20th, March the 16th to March 20th, Caden goes and stays with a former frat buddy. On the 20th, he goes to Seattle, Washington, and meets up with Emma and Demetrius at a Holiday Inn, and they party a little bit and everything, and all of a sudden, he stops breathing and turns blue, and Emma calls. They get 911 there and everything, and the manager of Holiday Inn said that when she came in that he had already stopped breathing and had already turned blue. And I know that drug dealers are drug dealers, okay? But I have to say that in this instance, Emma and Demetrius could have left him in that room, and they could have left the hotel before calling 911. Their names wouldn't have been out there, nothing. Instead, and I am not at all saying that anything about this is right, so don't even try to make it sound like that. All I'm saying is that they stood up and did the right thing. They called 911. They called the manager of the hotel. They splashed water in his face. They slapped him in the face, trying to get him to alert. And Demetrius did CPR until the medics was physically pushing him off of Caden. So they stayed and they took accountability for their F up. No, that's worse than an F up. That's like it's unspeakable. And I'm not giving them any kind of kudos. I'm not giving them any woo hoo hoo cheerleader. No. You know, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that sometimes when people OD, to keep from getting in trouble, they'll throw them in dumpsters. They'll throw them on the side of the road. So, at least somebody did try. And they were able to get him to the hospital and Narcan him and bring him out of it. That's the only thing that I was saying. Now, once he's at the hospital, screw them, go put him in jail. I'm done with them, okay? So, Caden gets to the hospital. And 12 hours later, he's released. Now, the narrative that comes when he gets released from the hospital is that the frat buddy picked him up and they went partying again and he got a hold of morphine, he overdosed and died. All right, this is where we're going to get serious. This is the message. I need everybody to, I don't care if you've listened to anything else in this video. I need you to listen to this. Caden did not go partying after he left the hospital. His fraternity brother took him to his apartment. Caden was so out of it that he had to guide him to the bed. He said by 4:30 a.m., Caden was sound asleep. And I know that you're sitting there going, this is good. This is good. But he's dead. All right. I want you to listen to me. Narcan does nothing but bring them out. That's it. It does not stop the overdose. It does not stop those opioids and the overdose and the fent and everything from remaining in your body, crippling it. It only snaps you to life. That's it. All it does is get you breathing. And the reason this has hit me so hard is because, number one, his name doesn't need to be smeared that when he got out of an overdose, he went and partied some more and overdosed again. That's absolutely 100% not true. The baby went to bed. And I'll call him a baby every day because he was a baby. Sorry. His fraternity brother would go in and check on him. At 8:30 the next morning, he goes in and Caden is snoring so loud that he makes a video of it because when he gets up, he's going to just pick at him about it. Man, you were out of it. Look, listen how loud you were snoring, So he goes back in there to check on him and he's not breathing. And this is hard for me. And he calls 911. And the officer said that, I can't say his name. Anyway, the fraternity brother showed him the video and said, look, I was just checking on him. I was going to give him crap about how loud he was snoring and everything, And the officer said that he didn't have the heart to tell the fraternity brother that that was actually him taking his last breaths, like a death rattle or something. And he had recorded it. He thought he was snoring. And it's in the police report about it. So, for everybody that wants to do all these false narratives and lies and misinformation and disinformation, think about that fraternity brother. Think about that fraternity brother that recorded his fraternity brother sleeping so sound and snoring so loud, not knowing he was recording his last breaths. This is real life, people, or it's real death. They're not coming back. We don't get to just turn the page. But please, for the love of God, we are trying now to get it to where if anybody's called for an overdose and they have to be Narcaned, and there is another person with them, and they refuse to go to the hospital, we're trying to get a statement that that responsible person, the one that is able to, has to sign saying that emergency responders have explained the dangers of not going to the hospital, not going to sleep, because what happened to Caden was they got him back through the Narcan. Narcan only stays in your system anywhere from 35 to 90 minutes at the longest. So when it went out, he was still overdosing. And when he went to sleep, his lungs quit. And he quit breathing. And there's got to be a way to let everybody know you can't just Narcan them and go back to the party. You can't just Narcan them and let them go to bed. It's not the way it works. I know a mama right now that watched Narcan bring her baby back. 2 hours later, he died in his sleep. Nobody, especially a mama, especially a parent, should ever have to go through that. And for anybody that wants to think about every 11 minutes, any creator that goes live, any creator that does a video, in the background, set a timer to go off every 11 minutes. So while you're live, see how many times it goes off. And that's how many people died while we were live. And I know that's grim, but that's the only way I know to put it. Think about it. Every time that alarm goes off, they're dead. But hey, we can worry about Idaho goblins and carrying the people on their back through the woods, the parents getting them killed, getting out of the hospital from an overdose and go party and overdose again. We can worry about all that. I choose to maybe worry about something real, something I don't want anybody else to feel. something else I don't want anybody else to lose. So I'm Morning Label Nina, and I am going to continue my Dawn Daniels. Unfortunately, when I was doing the research, it took over. The message was more important than the research. I love y'all. I'll be back soon.